Hello there, Gnome Stew Readers. This is John Arcadian, and today I'm going to be taking you on a little video hands-on tour of a thing called Tabletop Simulator. Now, I'm going to ask you to be patient with this video because this program takes a while to load as it loads up a ton of 3D models every time, and this can cause some issues and delays. I'm going to be pausing the video and letting it load as I record it so you guys don't have to wait through the loading times, but the controls can be a bit clunky too, so just be a little patient with the video. Alright, so this is Tabletop Simulator. What exactly is this? This is, as you can see, an online program that creates terrain. Actually, what it is a online game that simulates a table with physics. Much like in many first-person games, you can often move through the world and find objects that you can just click and pick up and move. And that's what this does. That's what this is made to simulate. And it's for this purpose, ostensibly, making games online. Now, there are no rules to this that you can use. It's just a matter of picking up and moving pieces. It's a physics simulator that centers around a table. And of course, it has, along with the other things like cards and backgammon, where you can pick up and play the game by just rolling the dice as if you're interacting with it in person, it has an RPG kit. Now, the benefit of this is that it is made to be played online so that you can create a table and then others can connect into it and play there. So this is a really great addition to most online sorts of games where a table would be good, but you don't necessarily have one. So here you can see the basic RPG kit with the models that they have. Now you, as the potential game master, can take these pieces, rotate them, set up a table beforehand, copy and paste them, and then create dungeon terrain that you can move about and make use of. Now, it is not the sort of thing that happens very easily. It's definitely not something I would try on the fly. It really is simulating physics as close as it can get it. And if you right-click on one of these objects, you can see it has physics, whether it uses gravity, how high its mass is set, does it have drag, what material is this made out of, does it have bounciness. So depending on how you set up each individual piece, you may have something that you can drop, like, let's go to the chest and add in some dice. You can have plastic or metal dice, which will roll differently because these are actually set up with physics. There's a chrome dice, which, if I drag and select all these and shake them about, it simulates the rolling. And then I can go, zoom in, and see that I rolled a 5, a 1, and a 1. So this actually simulates everything with the physics that are built into each and individual model. So it takes a while to set these up. I've been playing around with it, but if you take the time and then save these as save your game once you've set everything up the way you want it, you can make some pretty incredible things, such as this RPG map that I found on the Steam Workshop called At the Edge of Town. Now, here you will notice this is taking a long time to load, and in just a second you're going to see why. It is loading in multiple small models. Each one of these little white dots is a small model. And when you first load up something from the Steam Workshop, you are downloading each and every single bit into your local storage. So here's this town that somebody has made, full of options and elements that you can use. And then you can go and say, I'm going to load in the characters and minis that we've created. And it's not always precise. There he is. Like I said, it is not always precise. And move this around just like you would on a gridded area. And this is one of the models and minis that I pulled from, like I said, not always precise, that I pulled from an online pack. Now, as the host, you can change multiple elements of this, and one of these is the chest where you can add things in. You can change the type of table, do different types of backgrounds, but most important for our purposes is the grid. Do we want to snap objects to it, and where do we want to set them to? To snap on the center of the lines or where the line is? So this is how you can control whether it will attempt to snap to the grid or whether it will just drop it wherever you put it. But this does, see if I drop it here, it tries to snap it to the nearest junction. But if I go under grid and turn it to offset snap, it will try to put it in the middle of these. So you can simulate, 5-foot movements and 5-foot squares fairly easily with this sort of right options turned on. Now, there are a lot of options that go into the RPG kit, but this was made by modders and for modders. So on the Steam Workshop, there are a ton of things you can go and find to make use of. And this is where it really becomes a useful tool. These are all ones that I have subscribed to. Including this one where I got this mini that I'm using from a thing called Sword Art Online Figures, which when I load it up, it loads up the entire save game that somebody has made and saved to their to the Steam Workshop. So when you go in here, you look at these are all figures from an anime that is called Sword Art Online. The way you would actually make use of these, like say if I want to take Agile and make him my mini, I can take him, scale him down to mini size for the table I'm using, or scale him up to be ridiculously large, and then you right click on it and save it to your chest. If you go and load up something like that RPG Edge of Town, it will erase everything you have and load in everything else. So I'm going to save him as Agile. And now let's say I'm going to go back to the workshop and find my RPG Edge of Town, which is going to be the map that the imaginary group would be playing with. I will pause this so you don't have to wait for it to load. Okay, now that this is loaded and say, I've loaded this up as a game master, I'm ready to take everything, I as the host can go into the chest, take the objects that I've saved, there's the first one, click on it, and it will drop it somewhere, which it doesn't show me. So you probably want to drag it somewhere, and it will attempt to load it in. So now I can move this and scale it down. Now it's more in RPG size, and now I can assign this to a player if I were into a multiplayer game, and they could take control of this one. And now it can move about just like a mini on a table, especially being thrown off the table, as will happen. It attempts to put it back on the table, once again, somewhere, on the edge somewhere. There it is. Or, well, there's one that got loaded in here. All right, so that's basically how you do it, and load in a lot of stuff. Now, you can do things like custom figurines. As you can see, that jumping around in the place because of how the physics are set. But this is one that I made just off of a logo on my website. Simple, using the custom figurine flat. Figurines... custom figurine, and then I can import something from a URL. Now, everything uses URLs. There's no way to get around that, and I think that's partially because of their copyright options. So there's, oh look, let's take a little Gnome Stew flat and stick this next to it. So if you want to create anything custom for this, it has to be stored online. But you can do a ton of custom things. And you can find a ton of custom things in the Steam Workshop. Like, there we go. Like this Warhammer-esque figurine. It's not even Warhammer-esque. It's directly Warhammer related. Yeah, right out of a Warhammer video game. And if you look around this map, you can see some elements that you would recognize from Dragon Age Inquisition, or elements that are pulled right from other things. Or let's grab Johnny Bravo here and put Johnny Bravo right into our game to use as a mini. These were all found on the Steam Workshop, and it brings up the kind of tenuous issue of copyright with something like this. This provides a ton of really awesome things you can use for terrain or for miniatures that you can build stuff with. But if Games Workshop ever wanted to create their own kind of add on content for this or anything similar, it would cause issues, these being out here. But if you go into the workshop, you can find a ton of things that are created for a ton of different properties. Just to show you what this is like, this is something I loaded from Super Smash Bros. From the online. All right, now that that's loaded up, you can see it here. Here are all of the Nintendo licensed characters from Super Smash Bros., except for the few that are still little dots, which it's trying to load them all from their online receptacles and storage. But this is the kind of diversity that people have been going and making with this. Various objects and elements that you can just grab, make use of because somebody has made it in there, save it to your chest, it's already loaded in here, and use it in your game. I'm not even going to talk about what the legality of this is or the good or bad points of this, but this is the sort of stuff that people are out there making and making use of for it. Because it was made for modders. Now, there's a ton of utility in this. You can even load in something like complete with physics, a tablet if you wanted to complete with physics and completely as disrupting as a real tablet would be, but you could load in a tablet that accesses a web page. So there is a ton of utility in what you can do and what you can customize and make with this. My conclusions are this is an awesome thing that I am going to have a lot of fun with playing online with people who I can't normally do gaming that requires some kind of map with. It's going to take a lot of time to set up and a lot of getting used to, but once that sort of gets done and once you kind of get the hang of it and get used to how slow it can be to create, you can produce some very awesome, incredible sorts of terrain maps the way you wouldn't previously have been able to. It's well worth a look. It's $20 on the Steam store, and I believe it just released after its Kickstarter. But that is Tabletop Simulator. Tell us your thoughts.